You've tamed the voices in your head. You've put your courage to the test. Laid all your doubts to rest.
Hi everyone, welcome to episode number 10 of Intuitive Queens podcast. I am your intuition queen, and today I have the pleasure to have with me Thalia Kleckin, who is an intuitive life coach and love expert. Hello, Thalia.
Hello, beautiful Mara.
Hello. I'm so happy for you to be here.
Thank you for me. I'm blessed to be here with you.
You're welcome. I know you have a really interesting story on how you got to become a life coach and especially why you're a love expert. So I'd love you to tell us your story.
Wow, my story. Where does it all begin? So many years ago. I have been coaching for probably around 20 odd years already within the corporate world. So I've always worked in corporate, in different industries. I kind of developed within corporate my skills as a manager, as a trainer, as a coach, in HR specifically, and learning and development. So those were kind of the fields that I naturally gravitated towards. And I know the first time that I knew coaching was for me was when I had my very first team. So this was right at the start of my career, all the way back in Australia.
Wow.
Years ago. I had this team of 10 people, and what I loved the most was that one-to-one time with them, and seeing that one thing I did would motivate someone, and it could equally, that same thing could demotivate someone. And I was absolutely fascinated by that. So I was like, wow, like this is amazing. And I loved spending that one-on-one time with my team members, to see, I could automatically see people's potential, and to tweak things here and there. And that's really what sparked my love of self-development and people development and coaching. That was my first kind of introduction to coaching. And I remember we as managers were trained in coaching, and there was this lady that came in to train us all. And she just, to me, had the most amazing job. She would go into different companies and train people to coach. And I just thought, oh my God, I want to be her.
So that's amazing. I love when you meet people like that.
Oh, she was such an inspiration. And from there, I did several training courses, and I just kept developing my skills, and through different positions, through different companies. And the whole time I just continued to experiment with this amazing coaching skill, this tool that we have and it wasn't even called life coaching back then, because it was within a corporate environment. So it's a little bit
more like a mentorship, probably.
Kind of. I think when I was a manager, I was definitely more mentor than coach. But that's because, as a manager, you're leading people and you're also giving them performance reviews at the same time. So not really conducive to being 100% objective. But when I kind of got out of leading people and into the realm of development and HR and that kind of arena, that's when I could really put on my coaching hat. And it was amazing that I could experiment like this skill that I had, because I kept learning and I kept playing with the skill, and I just got to experiment with so many different people. So I'm so blessed to have had that experience within corporate, even though it wasn't the type of coaching that I ultimately love doing.
Because I can see how passionate you are about this. I can see from the way you move and the way you explain this. But what was different for you? What is better for you now? I know, working in a corporate, you kind of have to follow the guidelines. And if you're working by yourself, it's how you feel your coaching session should go. What was the thing that you didn't like when you were in the corporate? And what is the thing that you like the most now?
well, I definitely love being my own boss.
Yeah.
That,
I'm with you there.
it comes with the good and the bad. I have to
Yeah.
say, it's not all rainbows and unicorns.
No, it's not.
As you know. But yeah, within corporate, there was always this voice inside of me that said, this is not you. So while it was great to, have all these different positions, and I was climbing the corporate ladder and I would work with some amazing companies and amazing people, I always felt that there was a piece of my soul that was dying away. And in the end, I just couldn't do it anymore. It just got to the stage when, like many years later, and it actually took me coming here to the Netherlands and building up my career again from the age of 36. Like, I came here and I had to start my career all over again. So again, I went back to corporate. That's what I did. That's what I knew. And I climbed the corporate ladder again. And even though I worked with some amazing companies again, and I managed to successfully climb that ladder, my soul, there was this piece of my soul that was just going, no. And 2 years ago, I just, my husband was watching me as well at the same time.
Yeah.
Kind of going, you're so good at what you do, but this is killing you. And eventually I just had to listen to that call. And I realized that the thing that I loved doing the most was staring at me the whole time. I just didn't know I could turn it into a business. I didn't have the confidence to know that I could turn it into an actual business. And that was what held me back.
What was the thing that brought you to that point? Because I understand that you feel you can do more, and you feel this is not exactly what you should be doing. There is a part of you that says, okay, I love this, but what was exactly going on with you to get you to a point to say, okay, enough, I just cannot do this?
It was not aligning with my personal values.
Okay.
I was just not being aligned with my sole purpose. Because on the one hand, I was hired to, yes, to coach people, yes, to train people, and to think strategically on wellness programs, let's say. But I used to have to fight with the management team for every single idea, or prove that these programs that I had in mind would be successful in financial terms. And it's so hard to put a dollar value on people and potential. I could see the potential in people, but I don't, how do you translate that onto money? And that's something that I really struggled with big time. And it just wasn't aligned with what I believed in people, what I know about people. And yeah, I had to make the decision to be aligned with my values. So yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think your values and the values of the company have to get together. And if they don't, that's when you feel there is like a crack, and that's when you start to think about things. I agree with you, and I went through the same. Oh, I wasn't coaching, but I went a lot of times through the same process, like maybe changing job, thinking this was going to be the company because they were talking about certain things, but then the reality was quite different. And when you have strong values and you know exactly who you are and what you want, it's easy to have a clash because you just know that's not right.
Yeah, exactly. I think it takes for you to know yourself. I think you're absolutely right there.
Yeah.
You have to really know who you are as a person, and you have to know what you believe in, what are your values. And you can tell, and I think this is where the intuition bit comes in, because when you're not aligned with your values, you just feel it so much in your body. And if you leave that unchecked year after year after year after year, it will start to manifest in your body, illness or whatever, that's where people get burnouts. I mean, I was seeing, young 20-something-year-olds burning out. I was helping these people, and it was like, wow, how can you be, 20 and burning out? It's a tough career. But I truly believe this, that when you are not aligned with with who you are and what you believe in, things start to break down.
Yeah, I agree. And there are a couple of girls in the previous episode that talk about this thing. Working, trying to show, how good you are and how capable you are to move on and to have a team, hold a new project, and ignoring completely yourself, and a point to when your body says enough. And that's when something clicks and people start to realize that your job is not what defines you, and it's not that the way you should be doing it.
Absolutely. Your job is there's more to life than just a career.
Oh yeah,
it's one major part of your life for sure. And it feels great when you truly find what you're meant to do in that area. But I don't believe that your purpose is just about a career either.
Yeah,
it's more than just that.
I agree completely. So you decide to leave the corporate. How does that happen?
Well, part of the reason it took so long is that, we had to be in a financial situation for that to happen. And I have to, hand on heart, say thank you to the universe for having such an amazing husband. Because without him, honestly, I wouldn't, I would have to rethink how I do it,
Yeah.
And it would have to be a much slower transition than the one that I made. So even though I had been coaching for all these years within corporate, I was still second guessing my skills. And so I joined Beautiful You.
I'm sorry, say again, how long have you been doing coaching in the corporate?
20 plus years.
And you were still doubting yourself.
I was still doubting myself.
I just wanted you to say that again, because I know this is going to relate to a lot of other women that think we just think we're not good enough and we need to apply to whatever new course, whatever new qualification. And I just wanted you to say this for that reason, because I think 20 years, you really think you cannot do the job?
Yeah. Right? and yeah, a 20 successful year career, a 20
also.
So no, when I think about it now, so I'm glad that you made me repeat that, because looking back now, it's like, what the hell, woman? Get over yourself. And yeah, but that's been my personal journey. It's been a self-love, self-worth journey. That's my personal medicine, if you like. So yeah, it took me 20 years to go, okay, this is staring me in the face. I can do it. But it actually took me to join another course, which is the Beautiful You Life Coaching course, where we know each other from.
Yes.
Because I wanted that, qualification. I wanted that piece of paper. And that was, again, just me sabotaging myself and thinking I'm not good enough. But in a way, I'm really glad I did it, because what that course allowed me to believe in was that I could turn this skill that I had, into a business. That made the world of difference to me. And from the time that I started taking that course, that's when I started phasing out my work. And I then started working 4 days a week instead of 5, although that was pretty crazy, because in reality, I was doing 5 days of work in 4 days.
Right, yeah.
But still, it was kind of like a nice little phasing out moment, until the time that I could financially afford to say goodbye, and like I said, I couldn't have done that without my husband, without his support, his financial support. So I may be slightly different to other women that may be listening to this on your podcast. If they're not in a partnership, for example, it may be a different story for them. I am extremely blessed that I'm married to my soulmate, and he supports everything I do.
Yeah.
But we both had to be in a financial situation for me to be able to let go of that income, because I was making pretty good money.
Yeah.
And allow me the space to grow this business.
Yeah. But let me tell you one thing, because I'm that category where I'm single and I live by myself. And I also had the belief that I had to save a certain amount of money, that I had all this plan in my head. And and I actually left before I thought I was going to leave for this reason, because my plan was still in the making. But then something happened and my intuition was really so screaming at me, that at some point I was like, okay, I'm going to listen. I am terrified because my plan was to wait until this much so then I could save this other much. And now I don't know what's going to happen, but I trust this is what I'm supposed to do. So I go. And I did. And I have to tell you, things started to line up in a way that allow me to be where I am now, from May, without fearing I cannot make it.
Yeah.
So for everybody listening that is on their own, if you feel that call that is really strong in you, telling you, do this, do it, because that's meant for you, and you will find a way. I can promise you that. And if someone told me before, despite I'm all about the law of attraction, intuition, listen, trust, and all that, but when it's such a big decision, your mind takes over, even if you know how it works, and you apply as much as you can, and especially when we talk about money, because that's a big subject. But the moment I did that, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, all right, well, I have it with you, universe, you know what to do. I am going on doing what I'm supposed to do. So I trust that if I have a problem, you help.
Yeah.
And this is what's happening. So if you can have help from someone like a husband or family, or fine, but if you don't, because you're on your own, just go with it anyway. Trust me. And if you want to know more and you have questions, ask me, because I didn't believe I could, and I am the happiest person I could possibly be right now. So just wanted to highlight this, because I know this is scary. Yes.
Love it. I love it. And I absolutely agree with you, Mara. I think that even if you are, a woman that's on her own, and not sharing the finances with somebody else, that there are still ways in which you can do what you need to do.
You just have to be a little bit creative, and ingenious on what you do when, and things like that. And you might have to go out of your comfort zone a little at some point, ask someone, which for me was a big thing. But you will find the right people, the right situations, money will come in, and you will be able to do it. So sorry, continue.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I just wanted to say that I absolutely agree with you, and that it shouldn't put you off if you're not in a partnership with someone that can help you. If there's a will, and you're definitely you're passionate about what you're wanting to do, then you can make it work. You can 100% make it work.
Oh yeah. Okay, so you leave, and what happens? So you're taking the course for Duty for You. What happens from there?
So I graduated from Beautiful You, and basically the month after I graduated, I resigned. And that was amazing. And it was exactly the right timing, because the company that I was working for it had been going bad for a while, the company I'd been working for. And I could see the writing on the wall. But there were people there that were just believing, and I could just see it. I knew what was coming. I could feel it. Again, this intuition thing. And I knew that, me leaving in November was the right thing to do. My husband wasn't prepared for it at exactly that moment, but I just went with it. And again, it was that listening to my inner knowing and my intuition that went, that's when it is. I'm not going back on that. This is something that I've committed to. It's a word I've made to myself, a promise. And so then I began, and I had no clue what I was doing.
Of course you didn't, right?
I mean, all I knew was that I had this skill, and a gift, if you like, for working with people. And what I knew was that I wanted to work with women primarily. Even though I in corporate, I worked with both men and women, I have been called to work specifically with women. And that's basically all I knew. I knew that I could see potential in women. I knew that I wanted to uplift them and empower them. And I tried all kinds of different niches over the last 2 years. I just didn't have a clue what I was doing at all. I tried everything. I listened to, Beautiful You, and all the lessons I've learned about creating an online business. I took all of that in and tried to apply it. And yeah, it's been one hell of a journey.
I know, that's the thing. Like, I remember when I left my job the first day, I was like, okay, so all right, so I'm here. And bear in mind that I was working in the meantime, but obviously I couldn't have that many clients because my time was limited, and I couldn't do all the promotion I wanted because my time was limited. So I was doing what I could. And I remember I was like, okay, now it's 9 o'clock. I'm just going to be here. 11 o'clock. I'm like, okay, what now?
Yeah.
What now? And it took me a little while to figure out, to understand that I was a free woman finally, that I could manage my time as I wanted, that I didn't have to work 9 to 5, that I could go for a walk and come back and start working. It was a learning curve, and then I got to a point where I was like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
But it took a little bit of time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think for me, it's still a learning process because, when you're doing something completely on your own, you are everything. You are the CEO, you are the marketing director, your customer service, you're everything. And there was a lot of things, about marketing and social media that I had to learn and do all myself, and all the graphics and all this stuff. It was like, wow, I just want 1 month where I just know how to do stuff. That would be awesome.
Can you imagine? I'd love to do this. Like, okay, this, can you, that would be the perfect.
It's been fantastic. It's been fantastic, and I don't regret it for a single second. I continue to be blessed, and I continue to refine who I work with and what I do. And currently, it's being a love expert, if you like, because love is something that I love. I'm all about love in all its forms. So I guess that's something that just is a natural thing that I gravitate towards.
Yeah, and I think it's always going to be changing. The more we go on, the more we experience different things. It's like life. Work is like life. You experience different things. You meet different people. You learn different things. You want to change because you just want to experiment something new. Who knows? I think they said that at the course. I remember, like, your niche will probably change a few times. You will evolve as you go, which is true. I remember when I started, I wanted to coach artists, and I'm like, okay, that's a little bit difficult. And then I actually realized that what I meant was I wanted to have intuition and creativity in my way of coaching, but then artists were necessarily the clients that I needed.
Yeah.
So it was my creative self and my intuitive self that were saying, those are the tools that you need to use to coach. But then you can find anybody, really. So, but you go with the first thought. You go, okay, this. Yeah. And then you learn.
Yeah, that's so true, because for me, I've always gravitated towards transformation. I love watching people transform. And I've always been a fan of those shows where, the before and after kind of shows, because I love the transformation. And so originally I was a transformation coach, but it's exactly right. You learn to tap into exactly who it is that you want to work with, like what makes your heart sing, and how you can help them, and my kind of signature program that I'm calling a signature program now, it's something that I've been developing for quite a while, and it's a program that has seen me through all the niches, and that's what I love about it. I really love this because it's something that I continue to go back and kind of tweak and deepen, and I really feel that it's going to get
Your baby.
it's my baby, and it's getting even better.
That's amazing. You are a love expert, and I know that the part of the love expert comes also a little bit from your personal story. Would you like to tell us about it?
Yes, my personal story. Well, I am a hopeless romantic. So I do believe in love, and my personal journey is one of self-love. So the core of my work is all about self-worth, really, and loving yourself and accepting yourself for who you are. And the love part in terms of a partnership really comes back to my own personal story of being married to the wrong man, being in a very toxic relationship that was psychologically and emotionally abusive for way too long. So I got married when I was 18, and to a man who I thought was everything. He was my Prince Charming. I was the princess waiting to be rescued. And I guess that's where the problems all started.
Yeah.
I was 18 and I thought I was this little princess needing to be rescued by, someone that was, 10 years older than me, with a lot more experience, and that could manipulate me. And yeah, so it was a very difficult period. Although in that time I had 4 amazing children, 4 amazing daughters who are just, I'm just in awe how these little women came out of me, really. They're just incredible. They're beautiful and intelligent, and I'm amazed. So yeah, when I look back to that difficult time, that is also part of my happiest time. Being a mum was also part of my most happiest time. But yeah, it took me 17 years to make the decision to go, enough is enough now. And it actually took my dad passing away to make me wake up and go, what the hell are you doing? Your children are growing up, your girls are going to leave the house, and you're going to turn around in bed and go, I don't love you, I don't even like you. And I just couldn't stand the thought of that. And I knew I had to do something. So I got out, and that was tough. That came with some more lessons and heartache, a lot of heartache after that, and a lot of hitting rock bottom after that time. And in the midst of all of that, I met my current husband online.
Whoa.
On a game.
That's the universe, how the universe plays. But I assume that for you the most difficult part was leaving your children when you got to the realization that your husband was no longer the person you thought it was, or also you certainly changed, but then at that point you had four kids.
Yeah.
So how difficult was that? How difficult was that for you to have that knowledge that your husband was no longer the man that you wanted and that could help you, that you loved, and having to continue to be a mother and make sure that your children were okay?
Yeah, that was incredibly difficult, because I had always believed that I would only marry once. I grew up in a beautiful family we were a family of 6. My parents had been married forever and a day. They were soulmates. So I always was surrounded by so much love in my family. But that wasn't his experience. His family were completely different. They, their parents were separated, divorced actually. And so I grew up thinking that I would be married forever. Only going to say yes once. And I just wanted to keep on having kids. At that time, I just thought that my purpose in life was to be a mum.
Right.
Life. Even though I was still climbing the corporate ladder, I had this belief that what I was really good at was being a mum. And it took, like I said, my father passing away. My mother had passed away 10 years earlier after I had my oldest daughter. That kind of set the wheels in motion for me.
Yeah, I can
That's
imagine.
when I started, red flags started appearing in my marriage. The whole time I ignored those red flags. Those intuition hits, which are the red flags, actually, I ignored all those. And until, then my mum passed away, then I had, more children. And it wasn't until my dad died 10 years later, that was the wake-up call. That was the universe going, hello, what more do you want?
Yeah.
And it was still hard for me to turn my back on that marriage and to look at my part in that marriage, because yes, was it an abusive relationship? Yes, it was. But when I look at it now, I know I played a role in that.
Yeah.
Sure, because I played the little princess role, needing to be saved. And then I started changing, as I got more confident within corporate. I started getting confident as a woman, and he didn't know how to handle that.
Right. Yeah.
So eventually there was this struggle of this new woman
Person. Yeah.
and him not knowing who the fuck I was, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was difficult. It was really difficult, but I knew it was the right thing to do, and I don't regret it at all.
Well, I think when things like this happen and you already feel something is wrong, but you feel too guilty to let go, especially when you have 4 kids. Probably if you had been on your own just with him, would have happened quicker. But with kids, I can understand you try to do as much as you can. You try every possible way to find a solution, or even to just get by, so then they are okay. But I guess that at some point where your dad passed away, that's when you really couldn't hide it anymore.
And in the end, I started to think, well, what kind of lessons am I teaching my daughters about what a good relationship is? And that became my kind of new thinking. For a long time, I just didn't know that I would be able to look after them on my own, that I could stand on my own 2 feet. That was the greatest fear, and that was something he kept feeding me as well, So, and you just start believing that, and and in the end, the stronger I got, the more confident I became, I started changing those thoughts, those stories. And that's what gave me the will to leave.
Oh, wow. So did you leave and then you met your husband, or did you as you say, you met in a game? Did you meet him before and that gave you the courage to leave?
No, I met him after. So I ended the marriage, and it was a very long and bitter time, actually. So we separated, and I moved out with my girls. And it wasn't until 6 months, maybe 8 months later, that I actually met my current husband online. And that started a whole whirlwind of craziness and decisions, and a lot of trusting my intuition, because we basically had a long distance relationship for a year before we met physically. And then, even though we met physically, it took another, 3 months, 4 months, maybe even 6 months before I actually came here to the Netherlands. So it was it was a lot of trusting my intuition then.
Yeah, I guess that is what you need to do, because after so much pain, I guess you come out with so much fear. You were brave to actually say, okay, I feel this and I'm just going to go with it. And I don't think that's easy to do.
No.
But you came to a point where I guess you knew what you wanted and what you didn't want and how you were feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I think the strongest pull in me is love. That's why I say love is the kind of thread in my whole life, whether it's about loving myself or loving another person. I feel that love pull so greatly that I, even though, yes, I'd experienced this, you know, not great relationship for so many years, I still believed in love. And I still believed that there was a person out there that, that would be equal to me, and that we could make a, you know, a great life together, you know, everything I wanted for in a partner. So I think that kind of, that belief, that inner belief is what made me strong enough to take the risk, because essentially, as I said, we had this long distance relationship. We only knew each other through Skype, and then we made the decision to meet in person in San Francisco, and I had to move heaven and earth. It was a big risk to meet someone that you don't know.
Yeah.
Back then, you know, now it's okay, you know, it's kind of the done thing.
Yeah.
But back then, when you meet someone online, it was pretty risky.
Yeah. And you didn't meet him in your country, so you were somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine, you know, how you feel about the whole thing, knowing what's behind.
Yeah. So yeah, it was really, you know, we both made the decision to take that leap of faith and to trust that it would turn out, because we were meeting in a completely different country.
Okay, so then you moved to Netherlands, and now is your husband, and you're happy, and everything is going in the right direction. So how do you help the women that come to you? First of all, what it means that you're an intuitive life coach, and what do you do? How do you help women with the love part?
Yeah. Well, this is where I kind of blend everything I've learned in my life. So my own personal journey and my experience coaching men, women, teams throughout corporate. I've kind of taken, you know, that skill and all the experimentation I made of that skill, and I blend that with intuition, because it's something that I've always had. I identify myself as an empath, which means that and I think we are all empaths, by the way. I think that every single one of us is intuitive, and that we are all empaths because we are electromagnetic beings.
Yeah.
We give off energy, and that's how we can pick up the energy of other people.
Yeah.
And the environment. And when you identify as an empath, you just have this ability that's a little bit more heightened, muscle that you've worked more than something else. So I can feel other people, and that's what I mean by using my intuition. So I blend traditional coaching with intuition and spirituality. That's for want of a better word. So I kind of mix and fuse this together, and it's kind of a bespoke package. So depending on the woman and what her needs are, that those worlds, you know, the intuition I always use, because I am led, I'm guided by knowing what feeling I'm getting from that person, to know what kind of questions to ask, and to kind of ask the right question at the very time.
Yeah.
I go by that is, you know, so I that is something that is part and parcel, but the combining of the traditional coaching with the spirituality is something that is custom to that woman, depending on her and what she's ready for herself. So that's the fusion of coaching and spirituality and intuition. And then I work with successful women who are heart-led women, but basically women that have it all, except they haven't found success in love. And I say success because that's the term they use, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they've either notoriously bad at making decisions in love, so they go for the bad boy, which ends up being a toxic relationship, or they go for Mr. Nice, who doesn't really have the same drive or ambition that they do. So they're the ones that are always more in that, you know, success, ambition type role than their partners are. So it's never really...
There is a mismatch in any kind or in any situation.
Yeah, it's not an equal partnership, and it's not that wildly loving love that they're looking for. That is love. So they're the women I help, and what we do is that we create a love that they love. So together we...
I love that. We create the love that they love. I love it.
My little play on words. I like it as well. But that is my signature program. It is Create a Love You Love. And all that is just looking at the patterns that have kept you stuck, and then creating this vision, a very crystal clear vision for the kind of love that you're wanting to attract. But what I say is that that's kind of the byproduct of what I do, because the real work comes in when you start looking at yourself.
Oh yeah.
And it's all about self-worth at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason you keep attracting these bad boys, or the Mr. Nice, or the Mr. Not Good Enough.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why you are caught up in this cycle, this pattern that you're in. And that's the work that we start to uncover together.
And I think self-love, self-worth, it's the basic for everything. You can be a mindset coach, you can be a money mindset coach, you can be intuitive coach, love coach, everything. But everything starts from you and the way you perceive yourself. And if you don't love yourself enough, if you don't think you're worthy to receive what is it that you want, that's a problem.
It's a big problem, and I think you're absolutely right. It's spot on. Like I said, it's the journey, my own personal journey that I've been on, and I know that, you know, all those years ago, the reason I got married when I was 18 is because I really didn't love myself. I didn't like myself, and I didn't know myself because I was 18.
Yeah.
But I think for women that do have it all, so, you know, if you're independent and you can financially look after yourself and you're rocking everything, it's kind of a taboo to think, to put your hand up and go, but I'm not successful in love. You kind of, I know that the women kind of feel, they feel bad that they're so smart, right? These are intelligent, successful women that are at the top of their career or their business.
Yeah.
They can't figure out this love thing.
Yeah.
So
you made me think about what Lady Gaga says every time she is with someone, and then apparently from what I read, the two main big breakup is because she gets higher on the work-wise, she becomes super whatever she has going on, and that the relationship starts going down because on the other side her man doesn't have the same amount of success in his work.
Yeah.
And I think this is really important to end is a problem. You clearly want someone that is on your similar level. It doesn't have to be on your exact level, but at least that understands you and understands where you are, and understands you might be a driven woman that wants to have a career or create a business, whatever it is that, and doesn't feel threatened by this drive that a woman can have in a professional life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way that the women I work with describe themselves is that they feel that men find them intimidating because they're so successful. And they, you know, if they want to travel the world, they can. If, you know, they've got their own house and they've done it all by themselves.
Yeah.
And that can be quite intimidating if you're not a very secure man.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that, you know, the man that you're looking for has the same financial success as you, but he has to have the same drive. You know, there has to be that mutual ambition and zest for life, if you like.
Yeah, because otherwise there is a mismatch. You can't be with a man that likes to, you know, even if he earns a lot of money, then he likes to be on the sofa all day when he's not working. If you are that kind of woman that is always in motion and wants to discover life and live life. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because I think when you are that successful and you're used to doing it alone, and you, particularly if you are a woman in corporate as well, you kind of start relying on your very male energy. And I know we're going into a different topic now, but
No, but let's go into all the topics.
I have also noticed, you know, now that I'm kind of doing this kind of relationship coaching, if you like, is that the women have been used to operating from a male energy.
Mm-mm.
And that is very hard to gel from a male perspective as well.
Yeah.
So it's also awakening the feminine energy in a woman that is so successful, because they're so used to, when they're the one calling the shots,
Yeah.
to be, you know, action orientated, goal orientated, ambitious, go, that you kind of start forgetting that there is that place of softness and surrender and allowing someone to shower you with affection, or to just open a door for you. You know, something as simple as you not being in the driver's seat. And that's something that we also uncover in the work, and something I've noticed with very successful women as well.
Yeah, and I think that if, depending on your background, but if you are that kind of person that has built her life onto everything that she has done by herself, allowing someone else to, at some point, kind of take care of some aspect of her life, it's difficult, because, you know, it's kind of like you have to surrender your control.
Yes.
And that's not easy if for all your life you have used that control drive to get to where you are now. It's that you feel unbalanced, because that's what gets you there. So how can you do without it now?
Exactly. And that's one of the patterns, that's one of like the hidden patterns that we uncover in the journey when we start to look at the history of different relationships, you know, and start to look at, well, what kind of patterns were there? You know, what kinds of partners were you selecting? You know, what were the red flags that you didn't listen to? And when you start uncovering more and more of that, you start to realize exactly that. What is this control thing that I have? And all of it comes back to unraveling into a story of self-worth or self-love in one form of another. Or another.
Oh, we can talk forever.
I love
I love all talking about all the topics, as you know. But I think it's about time that you tell us where to find you. I think this is a topic that a lot of women will resonate with. So tell us where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you. And I will put your details in the show notes and below for everybody that is watching.
Awesome. Well, you can find me on www.thaliakleckin.com. So that's my website. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, all by my name, Thalia Kleckin. I have a lovely free downloadable on exactly what we've been talking about, on how to uncover those patterns. So if you keep falling for the Mr. Bad Boy, for example, how to realize you're caught in that cycle, and then 3 ways to change it. So that's something that if you go to my website, you can download it for free and join my beautiful community. You can find me on Instagram. I'm just about to launch a IGTV channel and YouTube channel called TV.
Is it gonna have your name, or is it called in a different name?
It's called Wild Woman TV.
Oh, I love it.
I am a wild woman and I'm proud.
Yes.
But look, if you are a beautiful woman who is successful and has maybe given up on love, don't give up. You can still find it there. And I would love to just catch up for a virtual coffee. Again, if you look at my Instagram or Facebook or website, then you can book in some time with me and we can have a chat to see if we match and connect together.
You heard her. She's the love doctor, so you need to go and talk to her, because I know love is a big part of our life anyway. So might just be worth it to have a chat, even if you're not sure what to do, just to see what's going on. Before we go, I'd love for you to give an advice to our audience that is watching on YouTube or that is listening on iTunes and Spotify, about the whole thing that we talked about, what you feel will be beneficial for them to hear.
Follow your intuition and practice following and trusting that intuition. That is I think that is something that we both share, you and I, Mara, is that we're both intuitive. But honestly, it is something that every single person has. We are born with this gut instinct in us. And the more you learn to trust it, the more you do trust it, you will find that it never, ever is wrong. And it's so great when you start to live your life from a place of trusting that intuition.
Yeah. And I can only agree with you completely. The more you practice your intuition, the more your intuition heightens, and the more you are able to see how powerful you become and how easy it sometimes becomes to take a decision that a few months before, a year before, you were paralyzed to take. So yes, absolutely, I second that. And I also use your advice to tell you that I also have a free guide about intuition. So 7 steps to use your intuition. So if you want to learn more, just go on theintuitionqueen.com. If you want to ask me questions about this particular episode, because maybe you missed something about Thalia, you want to know more, or you just want to get in touch with me, go to my website, or you can find me everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, as the Intuition Queen. And yes, thank you so much, Thalia. It's been such a great pleasure for me to have you today. We could talk forever.
I can continue talking. You have to come over to the Netherlands.
I will. We'll plan that.
I love your podcast. So yeah, listen to Mara's podcast, The Intuition Queen.
Thank you so much, Thalia, and thank you so much for everyone for watching and listening, and I will see you and talk to you next week. Ciao.
Your mind is clearer than before. Your heart is full and wanting more. Your future's at the door.